Good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in once more. Welcome to the Oxford International Short Film Festival. I am Olivia and I will be your host for this block this evening, which is The Future is Bright. So yes, we have a feast in store for you. We've got utopias, we've got dystopias, we've got all kinds of fantasy, wonderful visions of the future in all kinds of weird and wonderful ways in this block of films this evening. Everything you could want in store. So the way this is going to roll is that we will have the films played first. There are 5 films in this block, and that's going to run at approximately 55 minutes long. So that will take us to about 5 to 9 hour time. Once all the films have played, we'll then host a short Q&A session with some of the filmmakers who are able to join us today, which is really exciting. And then we should hopefully wrap things up 10 at the latest, but well before then, I expect. We encourage you to comment on Facebook, on YouTube, however you are joining us, however you are watching us. Please chat away, keep things going, fire over questions. If you've got anything you want to ask to the filmmakers or any specific things you're wondering, then do chuck them on over and we'll be able to pass them on. Without further ado, let's crack into The Future is Bright.
You should be crying. There was a thought experiment a long time ago called Laplace's demon. The idea was that if something, maybe an angel, maybe a demon, maybe a god, was smart enough and knew enough, it could predict the future. It could just do some math and crunch the numbers. It could tell you everything that was ever going to happen. Now, I want you to make a prediction.
Madison Wheeler, you are wanted by authorities. Please turn yourself in.
If a thief hurt someone, if the thief took from someone their biggest hopes and dreams, the actual light in their life, if they took that away, well, you know, that someone would do anything to destroy the thief, right? They would do anything, change themselves in any way, to make themselves unstoppable, unbeatable, because they have to. They have to win. I have to. So I'd ask you if you're going to help me. I'd ask what you plan to do. But obviously, I already know. So here's a prediction you need to make.
Do you think you'll get out of here alive?
If someone could do what I can, if someone could see what I see, if it knew what you were capable of, your true potential, all the things you've done and all the things you're going to do you think it would let you live?
No.
Correct.
Madison is where you are wanted.
Hello and welcome. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this meditation to help you find inner peace. It will help you to calm the feelings of being overwhelmed that may cause you to get anxious or stuck in life. We are a culture of information overload and
Good morning. Ground level going up.
we often think we need to do it
28th floor.
perfectly. This might
Please stand clear of the closing door.
can be at the root of overwhelm or anxiety and can cause you to get stuck in your thoughts or actions. Today, we will begin the process of self-inquiry to get curious about what we are really feeling, be okay with life as it is, and then nurture an open mindedness. Let's begin. Make sure to turn off all thoughts and distractions and set this time aside for you.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good. Please push the alarm button to summon assistance. Do not be alarmed. This elevator is full. Please take the next elevator. Do not be alarmed. Minor technical difficulties. You are pressing too many floor buttons. Please press only the floor button required. experiencing a temporary power interruption. Please stand clear of the closing door. This elevator is needed for an emergency. Please exit when the doors open.
My name is Richardson, and I happen to have been born in Britain. All peoples have their peculiarities and their enthusiasms. We are no exception. One of our enthusiasms is a game whose cause is served by experts and by those who only stand and wait. And while they wait, certain preparations, solemnly proceeding during many hours, reach their climax. For this is law, deeply rooted in tradition and in the ritual tradition brings, where until the proper time, no man may enter unless he have some special access. What is it about this unobtrusive game? What is its magic? For magic it must surely be that makes men sit and watch and dream of past occasions and of wistful yearnings never quite fulfilled. Magic it is that makes the hush when captains meet. The wicket is inspected and another test begins.
Don Bradman wins the toss for Australia, and Australia are going to bat. They're going to get first use of this good wicket. And here's the England side coming into the field. Yardley leading them, and here's Tom Dollery, Jim Laker, Dennis Compton, and Douglas Wright of Kent at the end. And then, out of the pavilion gate, come Australia's opening pair, Barnes and Morris. Morris in the cap. And Alec Bedser of Surrey begins the bowling from the nursery end. Fast medium right arm comes in, bowls the Barnes outside the off stump, and it bounces off Evans' pads. Bedser. Maiden. And Alec Coxon of Yorkshire bowls the second over from the pavilion end. Elbows well out, comes in, bowls to Morris. Morris forces him away on the onside, and the Australian innings is underway. The first run's up on the board.
And so another historic test is underway. Watched by the press of
Morning, Sanjay.
watched too by a praising
How are you getting along?
eyes to the
You know, the cricket club would love to see you again. If you've got any free time, just pop by. Right.
Those sunny days and they are lost.
Feeling like you've got no one to talk to can be a lonely prospect. We host coffee mornings at the support centre every Tuesday and Thursday. Pop down and say hello.
Days of two stump wickets, when bats were curved, and the scorer kept the tally with knots.
Honey, look where we are. Very exotic. Fascinating. Oh, but darling, have you seen the Earth Dwellers? Earth Dwellers, absolute savages. They've already destroyed half their planet as it is. Talk about biting the hand that feeds you. Oh, I know. It's rather primitive, isn't it? They've basically done half the job for us. Oh, just look at that one. Oh, let me keep one, please. Lord. Fine. Oh, how quaint. Then we'll kill them all. It's a good thing they haven't discovered interplanetary communication yet. Oh, gosh, I hope no one's listening to our plans. Nonsense. Right here. Call up the general, round up the troops. Let's show these chaps what we're made of. You're so sexy when you talk about complete planetary destruction.
site of the orbiter Discovery, and the shuttle has cleared the tower.
Even though many countries will fall into the grip of this alien race, we shall not flag or fail. We shall go on to the end. We shall fight on this solar system. We shall defend our planet, whatever cost it may be. We shall fight on the rugged plains of Mars. We shall fight around the stars. We shall fight in the unknown terrains of the distant galaxies. We shall defend in the darkness. But we shall never surrender.
Darling, did you hear that? Was that from Earth? Our armies will never be able to defeat that kind of passion. The General won't like this one bit. Whatever will we do? It's not worth it. Plan G? Plan G it is then. Right, pack your things, set the coordinates to Mars. They'll destroy themselves eventually, anyway.
Stage 2 of rain and cloud will be sunlit in the middle. Will rain stop today?
I'm so very terribly sorry, goodness. Have a lovely day.
But fate is kind and the battle is renewed. All
No és per fardar, però tinc un fotimer de coses. Tinc això tan petit i també això tan gran. Tinc això, que fa això i això. I tot això també. Tinc una amiga que és la hòstia. Imagino que estareu al·lucinant amb tot el que tinc. Oi que sí? Però tinc una cosa que encara no us he ensenyat i que està aquí amb mi, sempre. La meva tristesa. Si plorar fos un esport olímpic, seria medalla d'or. No sé per què estic així de trista.
Hi, Christian!
Però està començant a afectar la relació que tinc amb els meus veïns.
She's so sad.
Les classes de poesia online.
Què has escrit avui?
No m'ha sortit res perquè estic massa trista.
Però és que això ja és insuportable.
I l'hora del te amb la meva estimada amiga. Fins i tot ploro en somnis. Cada dia sento tant de dolor, és com si em clavessin 1000 punyals. No crec que res pugui salvar-me. I aquest soroll? Solució per la tristesa? Una màscara de goril·la. D'on ha sortit això? Bé, suposo que ara només queda esperar. Ha passat 1 hora i continuo tenint pensaments suïcides. 2 hores i encara no recordo com es fa per somriure. 3 hores i em segueixo sentint pitjor que una merda. Això no pinta bé.
Hi, Christian! My God, you look great today. So much better.
S'haurien de fer mirar la vista aquests dos. 5 hores i res. Quina decepció més gran. Però què? Merda! Merda, que oportú! Wow. A veure com explico això ara.
Què tal estàs? Què te comptes?
Doncs res. Avui m'he posat una màscara que m'he trobat al jardí pensant que em faria més feliç. I ara no me la puc treure.
Que guai, no? Estàs nerviosa darrerament?
Crec que la meva amiga no ha entès la gravetat de la situació. Això no té bona pinta. Aquesta nit he tingut un malson sobre una màscara. No és un malson, és real.
Bé, tu, Xem, i avui què? Algun dia m'has escrit alguna cosa o no?
La poesia és una merda, com una catedral. Em cau en aquests cursos i en la Maria Mercè Marçal.
Ara sí que em sembla increïble. Estic Estic fascinada.
Definitivament no entenc la poesia.
Mai he sentit una cosa igual.
Hi, Tustian. How are you doing today?
Not well. I think I'm gonna kill myself. Before lunch, probably.
Oh, good to hear. Enjoy.
Això ja passa d'atacar d'oli. Sembla que ningú veu la màscara. I digui el que digui, la gent es posa a riure com una idiota. Què he de fer? Acceptar això? Acceptar que la meva vida serà així per sempre més? Ni de broma. He de trobar una manera de demanar auxili sense parlar ni fer cara de pena. Per fi. Entra, entra.
Des de que m'he posat la màscara, no puc expressar les meves putes emocions. Ets l'única persona en qui puc confiar. Ajuda'm a treure-me-la, si us plau. Auxili.
Hòstia, està superbé aquesta història. És increïble, hauries de fer un poema d'això.
Verge Santa Maria i Josep. Crec que oficialment ha arribat al punt de la meva vida en què res pot sortir-me pitjor. Però, què? Ah! No!
Hola, què tal? Has dormit bé?
Qui ets tu? Què hi fas a casa meva?
Només he vingut a donar-te una petita xerrada.
Una què?
Existeixen moltes amenaces per la societat moderna. El comunisme, les epidèmies, l'armament nuclear...
Però què cony és això?
L'amenaça número 1, la més letal de totes, és la tristesa. Per això, Societat Secreta s'encarrega de neutralitzar qualsevol tipus d'ama...
No sé de què va tot això.
Els teus pensaments tristos estan començant a afectar a tota la gent del teu voltant. La primera damnificada va ser la teva amiga de l'ànima. Hola?
Que tenc una amiga que està supertrista, és que es passa...
Vale, merci. Adeu. Això va ser el primer avís. Després, els teus veïns, que cada cop que surten a prendre la fresca s'han d'empassar la teva cara a pomes agres. Yes?
Secret society? Yes. My neighbor is really sad.
Segon avís.
Està molt trista cada cop més trista, i ja no puc més.
El tercer avís va venir de part de la teva professora de poesia online. Un cop rebem els 3 avisos, procedim a fer una missió de reconeixement de tristesa, per comprovar que la tristesa és real i no és fingida. Quan vaig acabar, el software de reconeixement de tristesa va confirmar el que jo ja em sospitava.
Analitzant imatges.
Càlcul total de la tristesa de la persona...
96%.
96%! Un rècord mundial de tristesa! Així que no ens va quedar cap altre remei que utilitzar la màscara de goril·la.
D'on has tret aquesta màscara?
L'hem creat nosaltres, la màscara. En tenim centenars, amagades en un lloc super secret, que evidentment no t'explicaré. La missió principal de la Societat Secreta és distribuir les màscares entre les persones més tristes del planeta Terra. És a dir, persones com tu. La màscara de goril·la és un invent ultra sofisticat que disposa d'uns ulls reflexo-hipnotitzadors, que fa que la gent només pugui veure la teva cara d'idiota feliç.
I tu pots veure la màscara?
Sí, només he de fer això. Així de fàcil. també disposa d'uns altaveus alteradors de freqüència.
How are you doing today?
Com creus que estàs explicant coses tristes, en realitat estàs dient això.
I am extremely happy. This is an amazing life. I love you all. Faig unes classes de ioga espiritual que m'estan donant una pau interior increïble. M'encanta la poesia i ser tan llesta com la meva profe, a mi m'agradaria.
Good to hear. Enjoy.
Que guai, no? Mai he sentit una cosa igual.
I me la pots treure, si us plau?
Ho sento, però no te la puc treure. Vaig activar un sistema d'adhesió mecanoquímic que ha fusionat la màscara amb el teu crani. Si fessis molta, però molta força, potser te la podries treure. Però tindries un aspecte horripilant i te l'acabaries tornant a posar. Seguríssim.
Això és una puta bogeria.
Societat Secreta s'encarrega de capar tots els pensaments tristos que tu tinguis. De ser un muermazo, has passat a ser una tia que mola. La màscara goril·la és el millor invent del segle XXI. És increïble, és meravellós.
A mi em sembla un invent terrible.
Gràcies a la nostra funció, fem que la societat sigui més productiva. Tens això, això, i això també. Què me'n dius d'això? I això què? Mola, eh?
Però jo l'únic que vull és ser feliç.
No importa el que tu vols com a individu sol, és el que la societat pot donar-te perquè tu siguis feliç. Avui he rebut una altra trucada.
Sí? Està superpesada amb el tema de la màscara de mono, no?
Així que he hagut de tornar a casa teva i colar-me sigilosament. Per dir-te que com li expliquis això de la màscara a algú altre, activaré un silenciador ultra sofisticat que bàsicament fa... Bum! Bum! Ho has entès o no ho has entès? Doncs m'ho prendré com un sí.
Ara sí que crec que les coses no poden anar pitjor. Quin tipus d'existència m'espera a partir d'ara? Una vida de censura i falsedat? Una vida que no vull viure. Algú ha de posar fi a això, i ho faré jo mateixa. Joder, que oportú. Mira-la.
Hola, què tal?
La rata traïdora.
No me convides un cafè?
Rata traïdora que sempre està feliç.
Passa res raro.
Un moment. Si sempre està tan feliç... Pot ser que ella també... No!
Què passa?
No pot ser. No sóc l'única?
Hi, Tusian.
És impossible. Els meus veïns també? Un moment. I tota aquesta gent davant meu? Vosaltres també. Vosaltres també.
No helidrones on the scanner yet. I think we can take them.
Iris. Iris, stay with me. Stay with me, please. You've got her brain imprint. Just restore her.
I'm sorry. Your body's managed to forgo Measles process.
Give me the imprint.
Can't authorize it for a Class A citizen.
No. Iris. No.
Please make sure your Syntech dolly is fully charged.
Override. I'll get you sorted once we reach the others. We've worked so hard to bring you back.
babe. You all alone? 50 Vs, and I'm all yours for the night.
Can you help me? I don't know where to go. This isn't my body.
Sure. I can take care of you. Only 50 Vs.
I need to charge.
I can last all night. What do you say?
Offline. Booth occupied.
Cancel. Override.
Bullshit. Make sure the others are locked up when you close. And call me if that dolly shows up. I spent far too much money on a defense model to lose it. And what's up with this one? Get it cleaned up and moving. For God's sake.
Stop! I'm real. Not this, not one of these. This isn't my body.
Someone's been messing with your settings. I will set him off.
No, no! My name's Iris. Please, please, something else. I can't. Please! No!
Notified. Please do not leave the area.
Welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. I like that we hopefully will have some dog barking in the background. What an amazing hour. That was really just fantastic. I feel like I've gone to a million futures and back. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. And we are now going to have a bit of a Q&A with some of the filmmakers who have come to join us today, which is really exciting. What we'll do is we'll go through the films one by one. And I'm going to put my other light on now that there we are. Now that we're not in cinema mode anymore. Go through them in the order that they were played in, and then I will, just to reiterate, that we'll probably finish about 9:45, 10 o'clock at the very latest, and then do tune back in for tomorrow's blocks. We're very excited. We've got some crackers then. So let's kick it off. I know, Andy, I know you had some questions as well, but just what a fantastic block. We started off with Beataville. I absolutely loved this. I thought it was just fantastic. The colour, particularly, I thought was extraordinary. Dustin, thank you very much for sharing your film with us and for coming and joining us this evening. Where did the idea come from? Let's start from the gestation. How did it come to be?
Well, I love sci-fi stuff and philosophy, and there's just a thought experiment called Laplace's demon or Laplace's demon that's about if a demon or an angel was smart enough to know where every molecule or atom was currently, they'd be able to project what everything was gonna be or how it's gonna happen. So that was kind of the jumping off point for that story.
That's very, yes, I was not expecting that. Gosh, yes, I think that, there is such a philosophical element in there, isn't there, actually, now that you mention it. I think the real power of it is that so much of it is done with voiceover, which I think really ties into that sort of mental journey that we go on with her. I think that's really, really, really effective. I think a question I have, because from the point of view of an actor and voiceover person, how much did you direct the voiceover? Did you leave her to it, or what? Because that is so important, and it's a very different skill.
Yeah, I let her just do a few, and then I took those and kind of put it together, and then anything that I felt like wasn't working, we met up again and redid until I liked it. But mostly it was just kind of one of her first takes, because I cast her for her mood. Yeah, that's kind of the story on that. I did notice in this block, most of the films used almost no on-screen dialogue, or very, very little, and it was all kind of seemed to be post, which I think was might be part of why they all looked so good. Time was taken on set for that kind of stuff in my movie anyway, and it seemed like it kind of was a trend on the visuals, and then planned around making sure that the audio was something that we could work on later when we had time. So
yeah, absolutely. I think, it's a common story, isn't it? You're dealing with such constraints in terms of time, in terms of budget, and all of those things. And I think, like you said, perhaps it's a genre thing as well, in that because we're dealing with this sci-fi world here, like you say, that whole block incredibly visual, and such a feast for the eyes. And I think, like you say, that means that you just can give yourself that space to focus on that and worry about the other bit later. Yeah, absolutely, completely agree. The at the end it says it's proof of concept. What's it leading?
Yeah.
What's the aim of it as a project?
I mean, I had written a feature script based on the same idea many years ago, and we had raised some money to try and do that, but in the end we kind of felt like it didn't really work on the budget that we were able to procure. So we did another project, and then we had made this just to kind of try and get ready to raise money again to try and do the feature version of it. Although I kind of totally forgot that that's why we did it. So it might still be used for that eventually, but yeah, I just kind of did it and forgot that that's what I did it for.
Well, I hope so. So is there stuff in the pipeline for you? Is it working? What's next for you?
Yeah, I've got an action feature that somebody wants to put some money into if I can get specific talent attached. So kind of working on that right now, just finishing up current draft of that. So yeah, that's what I'm working on.
Oh, that's really exciting. Do keep in touch about all of that. You're just mentioning talent there. I mean, well done on the casting for this. She's fantastic. Did you see a lot of people? It's so important because she carries the whole thing and she absolutely smashes it.
Yeah, we auditioned, or I guess I auditioned about 15 people, and it was all basically just based on the read of the voiceover, because that's all there is. And so, and I looked at, I think everybody had a reel or two I could look at, so I looked at that kind of stuff. And yeah, I just loved her voice and knew that that was going to be a big part of the aesthetic. And she, when she auditioned, she tried to like hold some swords the whole time, and I was like, okay, well, she has the energy that I'm looking for. So because we did it over Skype, all the auditions, even though everybody was in town in Los Angeles, it's just obviously easier than trying to like get a space and get people driving around, and it was easier to schedule people. So yeah, in her audition, she was trying to like hold some swords for some of it, and I was like, okay, I like her energy. So
I mean, I think there's a note to all actors out there: more swords.
More swords. Well, I don't know how everybody else here feels about it. For me, I feel like when actors are going that much further, it does say something about like how committed they are already to the part. There's a joke in that show, Barry, not a spoiler, but Henry Winkler teaches an acting class. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not, and he talks about how he went in one time with a loaded gun because he just wanted to feel the weight of it during his audition. And it's a joke in the show, and I would hope no actor ever does that. But I do think that actors that go that much further in their auditions are bringing more generally, in my opinion. Or at least, that's the impression that they leave you with. You're like, yeah, the person that really brought the swords. Yes, them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like they say with any job interview, go in as if you've got the job already. Go in as if it's your first rehearsal. But maybe not so far that you actually have the loaded gun. I think there's a middle.
I would hope no one ever does that. I would hope no one does that.
Just going to take a note of that. No guns.
No guns. No weapons.
No guns. The VFX are fantastic in all of these films. Any big challenges throughout? Do you feel like the VFX did what you wanted them to do?
Yes, there were a lot of challenges because I decided that I was going to learn how to use Blender and do the whole thing myself. I was already okay with like After Effects and compositing and tracking, but I wanted to get into 3D. So there was a lot of challenges because I did it all on this Mac, which is not good for any visual effect work, and especially not Blender. But yeah, so there were a lot of challenges with like having enough computing power to actually do what I wanted to do, and with me knowing how to use the software. But by the end of it, I felt like I'd learned a lot. So.
Yeah, I mean, God, hats off to you. I really salute people who go, all right, I'll learn how to do it myself and to work it out. And I feel like I would have just thrown the computer out the window and I can't do it. Well done.
There were many times that I wanted to break my computer. I had just gotten to the point where the stories I want to tell required too many people, as far as visual effects and stuff like that. So like with this movie, it was just me and my buddy who's a union gaffer out here. He was handling the lighting, and I would pre-rig with him. We would go and pre-rig whatever location we were going to use together, and then I would pull focus and direct at the same time, and he would operate. And it was good to have him there because he's a huge creative. So he was able to help me watch performance while he was holding the camera and I was pulling focus. So it was kind of an experiment in how many jobs he and I could each pull off. He did all of the matte paintings and some of the compositing, and then I did all the 3D and a lot of the tracking and compositing, and then I did the score in the end. I was gonna have my brother do it, but we were really trying to see if we could do it without anybody else. So that was the biggest challenge / biggest learning experience on this project.
Incredible. Speaking of score, that's a good moment to bring in our music maestro. Andy, did you have a couple of questions for Dustin?
You've already covered quite a few of them. I think I'm going to actually open this up a little bit more to all three of you. I think your films, in terms of effects, you guys amaze me, what you've all achieved, considering these are just short movies. And what I found interesting watching it back was actually the amount of voiceover, or rather voice work, that was included in all of your films and some of the other ones as well. So you've already mentioned it, Olivia, but also in Chris's we had the lift. I'd love to ask you a little bit more about that soon. And in Andrew's film, of course, there was an Ed 209 kind of grumpy drone voice there that I absolutely loved, and it was even called 209. I think there was a definite RoboCop vibe I was getting from that. I think it even said comply. We'll probably come back to that, but I guess I'll start off with you, Dustin. I'm just asking what your inspiration for this particular project. Well, you've already answered it in some ways, but whether there was any film sort of references that you were kind of trying to invoke.
Well, I think we're all, as filmmakers, especially in the sci-fi genre, very heavily affected by the original Blade Runner and by 2049 as well, and just the use of color and lighting, the cyberpunk aesthetic and all that kind of stuff. So that was definitely a big influence on me for this project. And then just overall, I've always been moved by and related to like female lead action kind of stuff. And so that was another thing too, is like
I don't know what happened. I didn't touch anything.
Oh no!
Magic, that's I didn't
Hopefully
touch anything.
Hopefully we'll come back.
Actually, I was going to say, this is just an interesting point. Another thing that I noticed is that all the films here, they all have female protagonists. Just saying. Over to you, Olivia.
We're amazing. We're amazing. All the films should be about ladies for a bit. Or at least 50-50. I'll take 50-50. Let's jump on and hopefully. He's back.
I don't know what happened. But yeah, I mean, I was impressed with the effects in all these shorts too. I've been going to. I mean, sorry if I'm interrupting. I just want to give some props to the other filmmakers as well. I've been going to film festivals for a long time. I went to Florida State Film School, where they make 300 short films a year between the undergraduate and graduate programs, and you end up having to see all of them. And the effects in this block in short films was like awesome. Everybody did an amazing job, and I want to say in both 33 Floors and Venus and the other ones too. But you guys are here listening to me. It was just, they were great. Like the effects were just solid on everybody. I thought it was great.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Andrew, Chris, did you have any questions for Dustin?
Mine was mainly be about the VFX process. If if you did it yourself, and that's really impressive because I managed to do the screen replacement and bits of rain and things, but when it came to the drones, that was way above me. So yeah, props for such amazing looking, convincing drones flying about.
Thank you. I loved yours too. I was like, that's the drone, man. That was cool. It took, I mean, to be honest, it took like a year to figure out how to like do it the way I wanted to. Like we had the footage, and part of the reason we did it so small between me and my buddy was because like I was like, anything that like we really mess up as far as like how we want to do this in post, we could just go back and do again if it's just you and me. So there were a few shots where we were like, okay, let's reshoot that so that it works better with these effects, or so we can get it set up correctly for them. So it was a long process for sure.
Gosh, that's amazing. So you did reshoots in order
here and
to
there.
make
I
it
hate to
work.
do reshoots because it's like we were already there. We already did this. But for this one, there was a few like visual effects things. So I was like, it just makes more sense if we change it and do it this way and go back. So, yeah.
One of the other things I loved about your film, Justin, sorry to jump in, I'm sure maybe Chris might want to ask a question. I loved your credits at the end. They were very clean and quite unique as well, because they were just a single screen, but a little bit more animated and kind of cool.
Thank you.
I love fancy credits. I noticed Andrew had some sort of cool kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but some kind of cool effect going at the bottom at the top where it sort of made it all go fuzzy and cool. And you know what I mean.
I noticed that on his too.
Yeah.
The credits on mine were kind of inspired by Cary Fukunaga. I think I'm saying his name correctly. Did a short film called Sleepwalking in the Rift. And I've never seen the short film, which is like 7 minutes long, but I've seen the trailer for it, which is 3 minutes long. And at the end of that, he does a similar, just like very graphically laid out credit sequence that's just the names. But his isn't animated or anything like that. And it wouldn't have made sense for them to be for that project. But after I did it, I had it all laid out. And I was like, this needs a little more. So I tried to do kind of that like visual, like the hologram kind of like heads up display kind of look to it. So
loved it.
Fab. Chris, did you have anything that you wanted to say? Otherwise, we can crack.
Well, yeah. I mean, I echo Andy's thoughts on the credits. I picked up on those too. Very good. And I was also wondering as well about just the general shooting schedule from a practical point of view. It seemed like you ticked off so many different locations. And you touched on it briefly, saying that you did reshoots. I just wondered how long the whole thing took to actually get it in the can.
That is like my favorite question. I used to be a commercial first AD here in LA. So I pride myself on being able to get a lot done very quickly. And we shot all of the stuff with her in one day. And that was part of why we wanted to keep it so small, was so that we could hop around. So we pre-lit my house and we pre-lit his house, which is like when she walks up the stairs and it like does the camera roll. We pre-lit his place, and then we went, and my place was already pre-lit too, which is like the big action scene at the end, and then the rest of it was all like exterior. And like I said, he's a union gaffer out here. He has a really good sense of like how to use natural light and where have her stand there. We'll put the camera this way, it'll look good. So we did a lot of that. And then for our reshoots, we actually just went down. When she's going the subway, down the stair, like the escalator, and the drone floats up. We went out and reshot that one night, and we shot her walking towards just walking down that alley again, because it wasn't stabilized the way I wanted it to be. So those were our pickups. It was another night. So 2 days, roughly.
That's pretty impressive, 2 days to get that whole thing.
Well, it was, again, I was a first AD, so in Los Angeles, so I knew exactly what we could get away with and how, and we were shooting on the weekend, so traffic was a lot lighter, so it was a lot of stuff like that. But this is something I noticed about, I think, all of our movies too, is like they were all contained, they were all like very limited locations, so that we had the time to like just go And that's the thing too, is like, it looked like a lot of locations maybe, but like 4 of those like locations of her places were like my place here. We just went room to room and made them look as different as possible. So it's like, and I think you guys were doing similar stuff. I mean, obviously with the 33 floors one, you had one location basically, which I thought was very smart. And I was like, this is how you do a short film. So.
Okay, actually, so this is a good time, Chris, to ask you about that, because you built a set for that, right?
We did.
Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so the whole sort of concept from the film was inspired by the idea that we wanted to build a set, because the previous film that we'd done was very location heavy, and you know, it's stressful organizing locations and working to really strict time limits and whatnot. So we really thought, oh, let's build a set. We'll have complete control over it, and it'll give us the flexibility to film it the way that we want. And all of that great stuff seemed like a fantastic idea. And then we sort of thought, well, what set can we build? And an elevator just seemed like it was a good choice. It would have, you know, a scope to open up, and we could do various different things and whatnot. So we sort of crafted the story around the location. That's kind of how the story came about. And obviously we went through several different variations of the story, and I always struggle with keeping it small enough to still be in a short film. I tend to write something, and then, you know, at the end of the day, I'm sort of scratching my head thinking, should this be a feature film, or should I? It's always a struggle to keep it small enough. So we started off with 2 characters, and that was kind of happening a little bit, and it was sort of asking for more scenes outside the elevator to develop the story. So we thought, well, we'll get rid of one of the characters, and we'll just, you know, simplicity is always, you know, a solid foundation. And so we just ran with that, and then the story just kind of organically came out of that situation.
Yeah, because you only have one real character in the film. So what were the sort of challenges there?
I mean, the main challenge and the biggest challenge around the whole thing was just building the set and sort of, you know, what we thought was going to be the sort of blessing around the film, and the thing that was going to be the easy part of filming in our own location actually turned out to be the biggest challenge of them all, was just building this thing, because we'd never built a set before, and we didn't really have any set design experience. And myself and the cinematographer were basically working most nights and trying to get it finished for the sort of day that we were going to start shooting. So that was the biggest challenge, and just from a practical point of view, trying to tell the story and figure out how we were going to do the whole lift inversion thing. So those were probably the challenges, but from the point of view of working with the actress and whatnot, no real challenges there. It was pretty much all set design.
Fantastic. I've got to ask you what that bing is, because it's driving me nuts. I'm sure I've heard it somewhere before. The alarm bing, I can't remember. It just sounds like it's probably something Microsofty or something. It's to be honest, I'm not sure. We had a great sound lady doing all of the post-production sound, so she will know the ins and outs of where all those came from. But yeah, it's probably some sound that you've heard. You probably heard it today doing your everyday business. So yeah, it's fantastic. Olivia, did you have any questions or?
Yeah, loads. I mean, I absolutely love this film, Chris. I just think it's brilliant. And I think well done to you for doing exactly that, which is to kind of rein yourself in, give yourself those parameters of storytelling. But I think what you managed to achieve so brilliantly is that you're actually telling a really big story from a very tiny, small space. And you're dealing with so much stuff, whether it's kind of apocalypse stuff or whether it's just the nature of our relationship with technology. And that, I think, brings up so many interesting debates. I guess if it's a question, I suppose, what would you hope that people's takeaway would be?
Yeah, well, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head there, Olivia, around the whole our relationship with technology. That's kind of like at the heart of the theme, and that's what we sort of wanted to explore. Because I think, obviously, in today's world, we rely on technology so much, like we are doing now, and it's sort of a bit of an exploration into what could happen, like worst case scenario, where could that potentially lead to if we put too much trust in technology. And so I guess it just maybe for people to question, you know, are they ever too reliant on technology? And it's probably healthy to have like a certain amount of separation between it, because you know the lead character played by Victoria is very, you know, she's a young professional woman, very tech savvy, very reliant on technology, and you know the whole concept was around sort of stripping her of the technology with her phone breaking and whatnot, and then seeing the chaos that ensues when she's face to face with the technology that she doesn't understand, and she immediately just trusts it because technology is our friend. So yeah, it was very much around that kind of relationship with you know, human nature and our trust in technology, I suppose.
Yeah. Oh, food for thought. Yeah. Is it? And in terms of your VFX, like all of that's all VFX, really? Did you do all of that in post?
No, quite the opposite. Actually, most of it was done on the set as practical effects. Yeah, we so because we built the elevator, it gave us that kind of freedom to flip it upside down. So all the shots where she's sort of on the roof, we just shot it normally and then inverted the shot in post production.
And the stuff with the screen, like all of the screen stuff.
Yeah, that was all practical stuff. We had we edited a video together before we had actually done the filming. So that screen is just an iPad screen in the elevator, and it's playing a video, and she's kind of like timing her movements to it. So I suppose that's the low budget way of. This is the only way we could think of doing it, but I mean, she was fantastic at that. Like, I was really worried about how that was going to look, but she managed to time her movements perfectly. And the scene where the pen drops, that's a practical effect that we did with magnets.
Yeah.
The only sort of visual effect shot was the final one, obviously, which is that slight scene at the end that happens outside the elevator, and it's a similar story to what Dustin was saying about. Doing the effects himself and kind of learning as he goes. We did the same thing. I don't come from a VFX background whatsoever, so I kind of pieced it together as best as I could, and it took a long time to get it to a point where I thought like it was good enough. So that was a massive learning experience.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, it's, you know, I think I obviously don't come from an effects background either. And I think what's been really lovely this year is that it's been quite liberating because we've had fewer films and fewer submissions. It's meant we've had to really think about, well, what are effects? And actually, I really like the idea of being a lot more inclusive and being able to see that within a film, there's a lot of effects going on, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they were done in post. And actually there's really clever things happening, like you say, that in terms of practical stuff, physical things when you're there, and just clever use of camera work and design to build the world and to build the story. I think and it all hangs together so well. Dustin, Andrew, did you have any questions for Chris?
Just on the set build, I'm guessing you had kind of 4 walls that you could take out so you could put the camera in from different sizes. Is that how you did it?
Yeah, exactly. We had sort of the 4 walls, like you're saying. We had the floor on wheels, so we had pretty much full control over everything. And the way that we wanted to shoot it, we had our shooting schedule was over 2 weekends, so we had Saturday, Sunday, and then in the meantime, in the week in between, we were going to flip the set upside down. So it was going to be very organized and very neat and whatnot. It didn't turn out that way, as it usually doesn't. The set build actually ran a day and a half over, so it sort of ate up that first weekend, and then we just kind of clawed the time back during the week, and it all got a bit manic, but you know, it was fun and everybody enjoyed it, and we got there in the end, and that's what counts.
Absolutely, definitely. What was it like writing the script in terms of, because I think of the other character in the film as the kind of lift voice if you like. And I'm quite interested in that, writing dialogue for things that aren't human. And again, I think it's probably happened in some of the other, certainly Andrew's film as well, with the drone. How did you try to make this a particular character, or was it just purely there for function? I didn't know if you've got a howl route or something and tried to give it a little bit of a humanity almost, or...
Yeah. I mean, thank you for picking up on the fact that the elevator has a character, because it kind of is a character in the film, and that's very much how I saw it. But the actual voice of the elevator was never actually written into the script. That was like a sound design element that was added in by the sound designer, and it worked perfectly. There was a couple of lines in the script which the elevator says, but they ended up being removed, and all the lines that you actually hear weren't in the script. So, which was a great lesson to learn, because sometimes you feel like you need to have all the answers going into it, and obviously you try and prepare yourself as much as you can. But then I guess that's the blessing of having great people who know better than you at times, and they can add their flair into it. And that was sort of like a happy accident, so to speak. All the elevator dialogue was added afterwards, so I was so lucky with that one.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing, doing it that way, sometimes a little bit of ambiguity goes a lot further than actually having all the answers, like you say. I think most filmmakers have to go in knowing the world that they're creating, most of the answers. And there's always this temptation to try and get it all up there on screen, but actually cutting it back sometimes sort of makes things much more interesting for the audience, because they've got to kind of fill in some of these blanks, and in sci-fi in particular, I think, there's a few things that I'll probably pick up with Andrew on Venus that I kind of noted, and I know that's obviously part of a slightly larger universe, clearly. So I'm hoping he'll be talking to us about that very soon. But yeah, no, I loved your film. I thought it was great.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased that you all watched it, and thank you for the feedback.
Well, I hope there's more things around the corner for you, and do keep in touch with us. It's it's a cracking film, and it's been a delight to screen it. So then we had I'm Not Alice. Oh, sorry. Yes.
I had a question about the pen. You did you lift it up with a magnet when it shoots up out of the frame, or was that done or was it done like that?
Yeah, so what we did was we inverted the elevator, and then we stuck like a little roll of magnets inside the pen and put it on the ceiling, and then we filmed that, and as we took the magnets away that were holding it in place, the pen fell. And then we inverted that shot in post-production, so it just looked like it was falling upwards. So really simple. And that's a shot where a couple of people have commented on it. It's interesting that one of the most simplest, easiest things that we did was the thing that gets the most attention.
Well, yeah, when I was watching it, I think I could be wrong that they may have never done this on Apollo 13, but I think on Apollo 13, for some of that stuff floating in the edges, they would have like stuff on like a stick, and it'd be like kind of like the pen effect that Olivia did. And so I was wondering if you just had it like on a little stick something, and like shook it and then like pulled it up or something like that.
No, it was with magnets, but it is interesting though, because when you do these things, it's really interesting to kind of review it afterwards and see if there was a better way to have done it. I think that was one of the effects that I think we did it probably one of the better ways, but
I think it looks great.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I was just going to say, the smoothness of the movement that you achieved with that is what you wanted, isn't it? Because I think, often that's what you're looking for, really, isn't it? It's about that pacing of the movement and the quality of the movement that you're going to get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And I had one other question about your sets and your shooting with them. The windows at the end that she's looking through, was there any building there at all? Like, did you use any kind of window frame for that, or is that all like a green screen beyond her?
Yeah, that shot is actually a real location that's in Manchester.
Okay.
And yeah, so we filmed her. That's like that sort of 40 seconds at the end is an actual location. And we didn't use a green screen or anything. She's actually looking out of a window onto like a cityscape.
Mm-hmm.
But we just sort of rotoscoped around her and then inserted a background. She was stood pretty still, so we managed to be able to do that. Okay.
Yeah, we had to do some rotoscoping on ours too. That's the most fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it looked great, and the location blended perfectly with your elevator. And then just one more question about the elevator and the build. Did you do that on a stage, or did you do that in like a house or a garage or something?
Yeah, it was a garage. The producer actually had access to a car garage, like a mechanical workshop type thing. So we were lucky enough to sort of get that location at no extra cost, and we built it in there and filmed it in there. And it like I say, it was actually a working operational car garage. So whilst we were filming, there was engines being stripped and all kinds of stuff. So we couldn't record any on-set sound whatsoever. So it was everything that you hear, I think maybe apart from one scream at one point, is all completely post-production. So the location was it was a blessing to get a place where we could build the elevator for no cost. But it was also challenging because of the environment that we were in. But it turned out to be a really fun challenge, and working from like a blank slate with no sound whatsoever, it kind of gives you, permission to sort of build it from the ground up and start from scratch. So,
well, you can control it, I guess, as well. Which is I've worked on films where I've lost all the sound, and you've just got to start from scratch. And actually, apart from footsteps, I think it's quite good fun. I hate doing footsteps just because the timing is painful. But
yeah, that's true. It's good fun. And we were lucky because there was no dialogue, so there was no ADR or anything like that needed. Right. So we dodged a bullet with that one. If we had plenty of monologues and talking in it, I think we would have been without a paddle.
I'm gonna move us on, gentlemen. We then had I Am Not Alice, which I just love. The style of that is so beautiful. It's got such heart. It's got such incredible work in the artistry of it. And I mean, I think you must have got the name wrong on the block, Andy, because the future is not bright actually in most of these. By the way, actually, the future is dreadful, and we ruin everything.
There's normally a big blast, or it's neon.
But the future is bright if Sanjay is there, which was one of my absolute favorites of the festival. I loved that film. I just think it's got Wes qualities about it in moments. It's got beautiful music. It's got such good comedy beats. It's got this lovely retro vibe to it. And his speech is just glorious. The performance is fantastic. I loved it. Any thoughts on those two before we move on to The Fabulous Venus?
I mean, well, Sanjay is obviously a wonderful sort of character piece, isn't it? I mean, he's so well drawn, and there's so many nuances there. It is a wonderful little film. I love the aliens in it. They crack me up every time. Those aliens. So
we just completely suspend our disbelief that aliens obviously communicate in BBC English. Very very proper. And they're all having tea, and the captain's not going to be happy about that at all. Oh no, we've lost Justin again. Oh, he's back.
We're bringing him back.
Fabulous. So on to the wonderful masterpiece that is Venus. Oh my goodness, it's exhausting to watch it. It's just so brilliant. It's got so much going on. It's got such color, like Dustin's film, and I think the really bold and strong choices in the cinematography of all of these is lovely. And in a way, it's kind of the genre thing, isn't it, where you can be a bit you don't have to pretend that you're lighting it that way, and that it's sort of by magic that's happened. You can actually just stick massive light in the shot and like own it and just create the space in that. I thought it was fantastic. The visuals of it definitely gives the futuristic vibes big time. It's so creative in many ways. Where did it come from? Where did your idea come from?
Oh, it's so long ago now, really, since the inception. Mainly, I mean, I'm like the rest of us, I'm a big sci-fi fan, and I really wanted to make something that was big and ambitious and in that kind of cyberpunk future, but also to find a new angle on that kind of dystopia, because it kind of has stayed the same since Blade Runner, and that's, we love the tropes and everything it has to offer. But myself and my co-writer thought that you rarely see these worlds from a kind of female perspective, especially when the genre is so much about the body and modification of the body, and generally the most you get is kind of a strip club in the background while the noir detective is investigating. So yeah, we thought look at that idea of objectification and kind of sex bots and that kind of thing from Iris's perspective, and kind of what that means, and without ever kind of indulging in that male gaze.
Yeah. I mean, I love the idea as well. I mean, it's a little bit Robocop-y, but there's so much stuff to mine here in terms of, you're sort of downloading someone's mind, their morality, code, and their soul, and it's battling against the kind of programming of the technology, if you like. I mean, and the other thing that I really liked, and maybe this is part, so this is, you're turning this into a feature, am I correct? Well, that's the plan. That's the hope. That's the hope. Well, we're gonna will you all the way there.
Thank you. In fact, I finished the first draft of the script today.
Oh wow! Congratulations! So big day. Go have a beer after this or something.
I'm going to take away some.
Okay, you celebrated. That's good. One of the things. Sorry. Yeah. Well, no, that's fantastic. One of the things I picked up was you had kind of different levels of citizens there, which I find quite an intriguing, quite a worrying prospect. I know we're saying technology is the bad guy here, and of course there's technological themes in your film, but actually you're hinting at some much more malevolent force, which is you are not deemed a citizen worthy of resuscitation. I think I can't remember if something like that was said in the film. I kind of picked up on it this time, and it's like that's a huge theme. I have no idea if you're going to mine it in your full draft, but there's some really powerful connotations there.
I kind of wanted to hint to a larger world and universe going on, and as we were saying earlier, it's tempting to over-explain and over-hint. And there was, at one point in the first script, we find out how she dies and a bit of background about what the lavender field is all about, but the ambiguity and just throwing yourself in there and kind of filling in the blanks yourself, is much more interesting, I think.
And in terms of developing it from a short to a feature script, I mean, what are the challenges there? Because they're very different mediums, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm writing with budget in mind, keeping it, on the lower end while still being able to make, kind of because it's quite an intimate story, but on a large scale, and I'm just trying to keep that balance in the feature. As it is now, this kind of short is more or less the first act with a lot more detail. There's a lot more background to the mother and kind of the technology, and a lot of similarities, but things go in different directions. But I think it's the way it does develop is sort of logical, following on from the themes, and the starting point.
Excellent. I can't wait to hear more about that. It's interesting you mentioned the budget. So I know you crowdfunded the short. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that. And I don't know if any of the rest of you guys, because the thing with sci-fi is there's normally costs involved, because you're proper world creating. I'll start with you, Andrew, because I know you crowdfunded it, but I might go round around the houses and see how the rest of you guys did it as well, because this is something I think other filmmakers would probably benefit from, because it's a topic into itself, isn't it? Sort of funding your film. It's the one that no one wants to. It can be the thing that you never make the film because you never get the funding. And you guys have done it, and that's fantastic. So any tips, I'm sure people would love to hear them.
I think I've blocked it out of my mind as much as possible in that period. It was hard work. It was intense. We ended up doing 2 crowdfunders, one for production, and then once we had something to show for it, one for post-production with the VFX and completing it. But yeah, mostly it was just a lot of time planning, kind of getting the word out. I think concept art was the most valuable thing, because we have some really nice pieces of art to, get the vibe and show people what we're doing, and you have something concrete to look at instead of, just a title. So I think that was good at engaging people. Putting myself in front of the camera a lot, which I don't particularly enjoy doing. I'm used to it now, it's fine. But yeah, trying to record enthusiastic videos while, and not being too explicit about, hey, help me fund my film. It's, this is what we can offer in return, and just building up that kind of communication. Yeah.
So, I mean, it sounded like you had quite a team behind you there in order to do all of that. So,
no, to be honest, I did.
Okay.
I did all the Kickstarter and the campaign and social media stuff myself. Which, the month of the Kickstarter is just a blur now. I think. Every day, just kind of on social media and posting and making updates. I learned a lot. I didn't really know anything about crowdfunding or marketing until that point. I'd done a couple of very small ones, but they weren't for my project directly. So it can be done.
It can be done. No, absolutely. Well done for reaching the target. And I'm guessing you reached the target more than once in order to sort of the post production. And I guess was the second crowdfunder. Tongue twister. Was that easier because you kind of had more material at that point that you could kind of sort of fall back on, and maybe you had a better idea of what was really needed, and it wasn't as sort of as vague, because it's very difficult to know. You need money for everything at the start, whereas at the end you've got a much more focused. I know I need it for the festival run. I know I need it for the sound. I need a colorist or a special effects or whatever it is. You've got a much clearer idea on what the costs are. So that was the case, or?
Yeah, I think having I had a trailer for that campaign, and that trailer didn't change an awful lot. So the very final one, obviously, it wasn't great. It didn't have many effects, but that it's you have a lot more confidence in backing a project when you know the project is done. It just needs to be pushed over the line. And we kind of had a miracle on the first day of the crowdfund, because somebody funded half the target, which was, I couldn't believe my luck. He's a producer from New York he's doing a lot of short film funding at the moment. I meet up with some other filmmaker friends, and we just happen to know this guy who's also back their project, so he's kind of financing the UK short film industry, it seems.
Wow.
From that point on, that obviously put it on the Kickstarter radar, and you need to have a good start to have any hope of succeeding. So that month was a lot better than the first month. The year before.
Did any of you, just out of curiosity, I mean, your films were all made pre-pandemic, I'm guessing. I think. I don't know. I think so. Okay, I was just curious if any of you had to go back and do anything.
Actually, the hospital scene was shot during the pandemic, ironically.
There's a sort of a horrible irony there. Wow. Yeah. Okay. And how did you find that in terms of because obviously it's much harder to shoot now than it was, kind of.
Yeah, we had a skeleton crew, but it was quite nice because I'd been in post-production for most of 2020, and it just felt good to be back on a set. Even if it was social distancing and everybody masked up. It felt like a bit of normality amongst everything else.
Yeah, it's nice to just see people.
I am going to open it up to Chris and Dustin. Did you have any questions for Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, just on the financing side of things, thank you for telling us a little bit about the background and the crowdfunding. Will that play an element in you financing the feature?
I don't think so. I think the budget we need is beyond what we could crowdfund. So yeah, it was kind of tough enough getting the budget for the short. I think we need proper kind of financing and studio backing to have any hope.
I mean, without being too rude, are you able to tell us what sort of budget range you're thinking of for your feature? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I think 5 million is the kind of minimum we could make the film on. 10 million would be ideal, which, compared to the big blockbusters is tiny. It's nothing. It's not 200 million, but yeah, it's. I think. I mean, at the moment now, I'm working on getting pitch decks together and breakdowns and one pages and all that kind of documentation.
Well, no, I wish you all the best. It sounds like it might not be an immediate thing.
Yes, I mean,
but that's great.
Yeah, I'm not sick of the story yet or the world, so.
Well, exactly. You've got time to finesse as well, which is it's always a good thing. I'm sure with that kind of money involved, you might even have to alter the ideas a little bit just to sort of sit with there's some money, but you've got to change the script. At that kind of level, that kind of thing does sort of happen more, doesn't it? So
yeah.
But no, wishing you all the best with that. That sounds incredible. Good luck to you.
I was just going to ask a question
about it.
So go ahead, Dustin.
What?
Dustin, let's go with you, and then we'll...
Okay. I was just going to ask about the glass breaking at the end, which I had a similar but not as big beat in my movie with glass breaking with purple lighting, and it looked awesome, like yours. How did you? That was practical, right?
That was practical, yeah. The most expensive.
How many? Yeah, how many pieces of glass? I'm assuming you use fake glass.
Yeah, it was
how
two
many
sheets.
Pieces did you have?
Two sheets, and I wanted 2 angles, so we had to get the takes right. Yeah, I've never been more stressed on a set than that moment, because we had it delivered in a big wooden box, and the first kind of worry was, has it arrived in one piece? And then we had to lift it out, and I ended up being the person who would kind of step into the booth as we mount it. So yeah, there's some very kind of intense behind-the-scenes shots of serious faces trying not to be clumsy.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, I would not want to transport.
That was us too with the glasses. We had like 3. And
nice.
We got to get this right, and nobody drop that glass while you're moving.
How did your actor feel about pushing themselves through it?
Well, he got hit in the head with the glass, and
cool.
He was nervous, but he was like, "I've been hit with a real glass. This should be fine."
Amazing.
He was still a little nervous about it, but yeah, it was fun.
We're back to the loaded gun idea. It's the extra mile.
Did he do that to get ready for the scene?
It seemed like he had been. What's that?
I was just saying, did he do that to get ready for the scene, to get into character? Went out and found someone who could hit him with a glass.
No, I think he had been in a fight before that went wild. That's the impression I got.
It's a very, very good casting, bar brawl kind of guy. Casting tick.
Yeah, exactly.
Chris, do you have another question?
We asked, would you be okay getting hit with a glass? And he was. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, just out of interest to both you guys, Dustin and Andrew, did you have any prep time for rehearsals at all? I suppose from what Dustin has said, with your tight shooting schedule, you probably didn't. I just wondered if you'd factored that in at all.
I actually for the Lavender Field stuff, we had 1 day of rehearsal, but for everything else, I don't I don't think we did. And I know, in fact, that Margaret and Lee, Margaret who plays Iris in the robot body, and Lee, who is the guy inside the booth, Lee was abroad on the day we were meant to do a rehearsal because I wanted to, get them comfortable with each other for quite an intense close-up scene. But no, the first time they met was on set, and thankfully they got on wonderfully. I think it was the easiest job throughout the film I've had in just terms of directing, because everyone was just so great. But yeah, no, we didn't really have much time to rehearse.
Actually, so whilst we're talking about this as well, the makeup, how long, can you talk a little bit more about the makeup there, maybe?
I can. So the makeup wasn't quite how it should have been on set. And going back to talk about rotoscoping, I pretty much spent half of 2020 rotoscoping her face, smoothing her head, redoing the lines.
Wow, good work.
It doesn't look, now it looks as if it's done on set, so nobody will know unless I say, which just means I did a fine job on it. But yeah, that was by far the sort of biggest challenge in post-production that, could have been solved early on, but, live and learn.
I wonder if it's just me, but after you've spent time rotoscoping something, when I watch that scene back, it's the only thing I can think about is how does the rotoscoping look? I don't know if anybody else does that.
When you know that nobody else will even be,
yes.
I would never have known. It's flawless. Really, really brilliant. I mean, all the design, the production design on it is fantastic as well. I think each tiny little detail was thought through so substantially.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
I think we're pretty much at wrapping up time. Any further thoughts, questions, epiphanies, delights?
Just a big thank you for having us at the festival. It's been a pleasure.
Yes. Well, no, thank you guys for coming along tonight.
You're
we really appreciate it.
So welcome. So welcome.
Yes.
I must just quickly say, I realised earlier I in my rush to get into the Q&A, I skipped over The Fabulous Solution for Sadness, which is actually returning filmmaker who delighted us last year with a fabulous film and hasn't disappointed this year either. It was a fantastic piece, and really just loved that one as well. I'm sure you all did too. I think there is nothing left for me to do other than thank you enormously for having a good old chat and a chinwag with us, and for sharing your films with us. And please keep in touch. Please keep sending us updates on what you're doing and any other films that you make. We want to hear about it. So thank you very, very much. Is there anything you need to say, Andy? Anything I've forgotten?
No, I think that wraps up really well. Thank you, Olivia.
Fab.
Okay.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure, gents. And look at us, bang on time. Woo! Thank you again, and thank you for everyone who's everyone who's tuned in. Have a lovely rest of your evening, and see you tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Day 3.